Okay, 2 taps. That means the meeting is starting. Hopefully everybody's microphone is on. Tonight we have Mayor Pro Tem Fowler joining us by video, and according to the Texas Open Meeting rules, because we can see and hear him, he's a full participant in the meeting. It also, if you're curious, requires that we have a quorum at this location. If we did not have a quorum here, nobody could be on video, but we have a quorum. One more than we need for a quorum, so he's allowed to participate. So he had a conflict, so we accommodated that, and happy to have him here. It is Thursday, April 16th, 2026. We are at Poetry Town Hall, located at 5671 County Road 323, Poetry, Texas. It's 5:30 p.m. in the evening, and our first order of business is roll call. Secretary Laura, would you please establish quorum for us?
Mayor Jaffe.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Fowler.
Terry?
Oh, we just lost him.
Okay, go to the next one and I'll bring him back up.
Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Bryant.
Here.
Councilmember Hibbs.
Here.
Councilmember Kendrick.
Here.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Fowler.
We said here.
Got it.
Say it again.
Just
Here.
for the record. There
There
we
you
go. Mayor Jaffe, a quorum is present.
Thank you. Okay. Tonight's meeting is in 2 parts, as you know, because we've had it posted for a few days. The first part will be an executive session. And as it says in the narrative there, we are allowed to convene in executive session. Tonight's topics will fall under Texas Government Code Section 551.076, Security Devices, Personnel, and Audits, and also Section 551.089, Information Technology and Network Security. And our intent is to discuss the legal opinion and possible actions regarding a recent IT forensic audit of town computing environment. So, sorry, let's do the pledge and invocation. Doug is Councilman Kendrick going to lead us in that.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, we pray tonight that you watch over our community. We're blessed to have the council present and to take care and help take care of our community and each one in our community. Bless those that are not able to come tonight or watch us on TV, because we are doing the best we can with our community. Lord, keep us all safe. Keep us healthy, our Heavenly Father. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Doug. Okay. Back on script, as I said, executive session will be up first. So at this time, anybody that is not executive session needs to step outside. We're going to try to make this quick, so hopefully you won't have to sit out there very long. Secretary. Okay, wait for Dale.
Got everything but an agenda.
Hello there.
Hello, hello.
Okay, I call the meeting to order at 6, I'm going to call it 6:13. We are back in session. We just wrapped up our executive session, which is labeled B Bravo on the agenda. We're moving into C Charlie, items of community interest. Thank you to everyone that had to step outside for your patience as we work through the executive session. In no particular order under community interest, we have a primary runoff. You know, we had elections here just a while back, electing judges and commissioners and other things. Well, I guess a couple of them were pushed into runoff. And so if you're someone who's a believer in voting, and I pray that you are, please keep track of the fact that on May 26th, you'll get another opportunity to vote for the folks that were involved in runoffs. Early voting starts the 18th and runs through the 22nd. I'll leave it to you to figure out where your polling locations are and what the races are that are being run off in both Hunt and Kaufman counties. Number 2, Faith Temple Baptist Church. We had our, I believe this is considered our first ever Easter egg hunt where the town and the church worked together. And it was a little bit of a rainy day, if you remember, on Easter. But I think all in all, the event was a hit. We had, I don't know, I heard numbers around 50 or so people that were in attendance. They moved everything inside. They had a bounce house. They had who knows how many plastic eggs. Thank you to everybody that donated. I bet there were 1,000 plastic eggs full of candy. So they had lots of eggs. And it was just a nice event. You know, it was... I was a little bit sad that the rain hit, but you know, still a lot of people showed up, and I would look forward if we do it over and over, kind of like we are our Christmas event. It's probably going to build over time that we'll have more and more people. We are still accepting donations for the Town of Poetry Annual Agricultural Student Scholarship for 2026. We've removed the date requirement for applications and all because so far we have no money. And that would equal no scholarship. So, because remember, the town doesn't fund that. That's funded by citizens, by people donating money. So if anybody feels so inclined as to donate towards the future of one of our agricultural people here in the town, you know, one of our young people that's taking up welding or, you know, raising cattle or farming or whatever, please reach out to Secretary Laura and let her know what your heart wants you to do, and we will gladly accept your money. I think in the past, if I remember right, I think last year we raised either $500 or $1,000. I think it might have been 1,000, but anyway, you know, we're not giving them a full ride scholarship, but it's a little
1,500.
something. Say again?
It was 1,500.
Maybe it was 1,500. Okay. Okay, there's the bar. 1,500 guys beat it this year. So get
And
your
what is
wallets out.
What is the date that we announced the scholarship?
Well, we kind of announced it at the last meeting, but then we pulled it back because we don't have any money, and so we don't want to get them all, you know, filling out forms and writing essays and all that if we don't have anything. So
So it could be at the next meeting in May.
yeah, it could be. We're gonna.
I mean, we could do it through July.
We can
Most
give
of
it
them
to-
start
they're gonna
back in
take-
college in
yeah.
August.
They're not going to turn it down. I don't know
Yeah.
that the timing is as important as it being funded. So anyway, the call there is for any donations. They're not to the Town of Poetry. They're to the agricultural student, the person that we would be supporting that would win this.
So it's a check would be just like it's written, Town of Poetry Annual Agriculture Student Scholarship Fund. As
Yeah,
written
you
there.
need to check with Secretary Teresa to make absolutely sure, because we pass the money through. It's in and out on our books. We take it in and then we send it right back out when we award it. So, but yeah, you need to figure out what, you probably put that down in the memo, I would expect. I mean, it needs to be written to the Town of Poetry with the memo being to the scholarship. And it's not tax deductible because it's not through the town.
Oh, well, last year I got a note that it was deductible.
I don't know.
Take,
What?
Talk to Secretary Teresa, donations being tax deductible.
They are.
They are?
Yeah, any donation you give is tax deductible. You have a cap.
Okay.
I turned it in. I didn't get audited.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
What's your name?
Okay, number 4, Bishop Field, TCEQ water discharge permit hearing happened at, since our last meeting at Royce City High School. Quite a few of us were there. And, you know, as hearings go, I thought it was pretty well run. The lady that stood up and kind of organized things, I thought did a nice job of, you know, keeping things on pace and keeping everybody on track. You know, my one observation from it was that TCEQ appears, as some governmental agencies are, to be very sort of siloed, right? So they made it clear several times over the course of the night that they were only there to evaluate the discharge permit and the water quality. That's it. They don't worry about fuel tanks, and they don't worry about traffic, and they don't worry about fire. Those are different parts of TCEQ. But to their defense, they did offer to take any comments that were made at the microphone, and several of us talked and pass those through to the executive director. So, you know, I think it was a good meeting. They didn't say we're canceling the permit, because that's not how it goes. But I think our voices were heard, and we'll see what comes out of that. Ongoing thank you to both Hunt and Kaufman counties, continued support of our roads. We just finished up a pass through quite a few of the roads on the Hunt County side with pothole repair that made them a whole lot more drivable. And then last but not least, yesterday I received from Commissioner Monroe in Hunt County a copy of a resolution and a petition that the Hunt County court is circulating, basically going to be sent to Austin, asking for some considerations over the data centers being built throughout the state. You know, the governor has called for the state of Texas to become the AI data center capital of the country, which is drawing a lot of these data centers in, especially out to our farmlands, you know, outside of towns and ETJ.
They use 5 million gallons of water.
Well, so Hunt County, and I'm sure other counties too, have taken the position of, listen, we know this is going to happen, but we need some rules around this, right? These people need to be governed by noise and water and other things. And so they're simply asking Austin to put some controls in place. I'm putting a copy of the petition letter and the resolution. I put them out on my personal Facebook page, but I'm going to leave them hanging on the door of town hall, so anybody that wants to sign the petition in favor of no data centers, because that's not going to happen, but data centers, you know, with some
Restrictions.
guidelines and restrictions and things, so that the neighborhoods are not put in a bad position. Because depending on who you believe, the people that are living around some of these ones that are already up and running are not particularly happy. You know, they claim the humming noise, because I mean it's lots of air conditioning and lots of sound.
I got
So
some of those air conditioners in my
And just
yard
as a
right
question
now.
is, are there any proposed for Hunt County?
Yes, three.
30.
Three.
Three.
Yeah, the court over there has been, they had days of hearings a few weeks
There
ago.
was one that was going to be out here close to us.
Yeah, they're popping up everywhere.
Over on 34?
Somewhere back, I think it's off of, 34, back in there.
Yeah, I
Near
don't
the
know.
solar.
Yeah.
They're looking for, you know, their parcels out in the ETJ. They get 1,000 acres or so, and they
Yeah.
can. And these are gigantic
Yeah.
buildings. I mean, they're, and you know, as people have pointed out, the construction phase generates a lot of money for the local economy. But once the buildings are complete, I mean, you can run a data center with 3 or 4 people. I mean, they're lights out facilities.
Yeah.
You know, they kind
Remember
of run
that?
themselves.
Remember that center that they put in Waco years ago? That super, I don't know.
Collider.
Yes, and they never inhabited it,
Yeah.
but they built it in Waco.
Oh,
It-
okay.
and it was
How
kind of
about
the same thing.
Waxahachie?
It was a data center.
Waxahachie. Yeah,
Yeah,
Waxahachie,
Waxahachie.
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it's
It's
never
kind of the
finished.
same thing. Yeah.
Okay, that's it for community interest. Moving on to reports, financial reports. You have the stack. I want to make one correction here, that at the last meeting, I gave a balance for our escrow at Hunt County as being $1,800. I misled you, and I apologize. It was not intentional. I failed to remember that Teresa has Hunt County these are broken up into capital and pothole
Yeah.
funds, and so you have to add both numbers together. So we actually had quite a bit more, which is fine. I appreciate the 10,000 the council approved. It's deposited in our escrow. So our current balance with Hunt County is actually $18,483. So we're good for a little bit of potholing and other work, and that's good because I'm proposing to Terry and Tom, who are working with me on the road stuff, to do some level up work on a number of our roads. It's going to eat up a bunch of that. So, any questions on any of the financial reports?
I guess I'd say our sales and use tax report still looks good. We can keep the lights on.
Yeah.
It's, we've got 107,000 in the road fund balance and 82,000 in the general fund balance, total of 190, so 190,000.
Yep.
So
We're
keep
not
the lights
going
on
broke
those
anytime
lines.
soon.
Yeah.
hopefully.
Do we have a reason why those incomes have increased over time?
The
Yeah,
sales
so
and use tax.
Yeah, so these numbers here, all of our sales and use tax to
and
date.
they're slowly increasing.
Well, it just depends on the
Or
time
is
of
it just a
year.
time?
Well, some of it could be inflation because everything costs
That-
more, and
true,
so everybody,
yeah.
people like me shopping on Amazon are paying a little
Right.
bit more for things. So
So like it went up in February, but it dropped back down in March.
Okay,
right
so
there.
there's nothing that we can say.
No, we're
this
not-
is the reason.
we're not doing anything on purpose. It's whatever.
Like, and see, if you look at February of last year, it was up from January the month before.
Yep.
And then it went back down in
See,
March
that's a
again.
seasonal effect of
Yes.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Could be.
Returns and buys, stuff like that.
But the last 12 months, we haven't seen an increase.
Yeah, it seems to be going
No,
up
it's-
from the
it's about the
8,000s to
same.
the 10,000s,
Yeah.
12,000s, which is good.
Yeah.
Keep shopping. That helps your
That's
town.
right. Keep shopping.
Okay. Any other questions on finance?
But we shouldn't gripe about the Amazon trucks, right?
Well, I don't know. It's a mixed blessing, right? They're
Yeah.
tearing up our roads, but they're
Yeah.
bringing us money, but probably not enough to pay for the damage they're doing. Okay, roads and traffic update. As I said a few moments ago, we just finished working, I don't know, half a dozen roads in Hunt County side of the town, doing potholes from all the rains that brought potholes back. And we're in pretty good shape. We've still got others that need to be potholed. We just kind of do it in pieces. Traffic, don't have any traffic updates. I'm still waiting on Kaufman County TxDOT to put our rumble strips on 3486. I don't know where they ordered them from, but they're taking a while. So I'm due to check with Nick, who is our engineer over there, to see where our rumble strips are. Thankfully, we haven't had any mishaps at that 986 interchange that I'm aware of lately. So that's a good thing. Number 3, Federal System for Award Management. We call it SAM around here. We had a couple of months of struggle, Teresa, Tom, myself, and others, getting our SAM registration updated. It expired. We talked about it a few meetings ago. Some company had offered to do the renewal, and we're like, no, we're not paying you $300 or $400. We can do it ourselves. Well, it was a lot harder than we thought. And so I'm happy to report we've finally, with Tom's help and Teresa's patience, we finally got it fixed. We got the people that are no longer here deleted. We got the people that are still here added. And we are now registered for the next year in SAM. This is a requirement of the grant process. You have to be in the federal system. We're also in another system statewide called TDA Go. And we're in there, and all of the accounts are correct. So any former mayors or council members have been deleted. Only current ones that are involved in the grant process are in there right now. So all of that's cleaned up, and wow, what a steep hill that was. That was quite an adventure. So let me go around the room. Terry, I'm going to start with you if you want to come off of mute if you are, and give any updates that you have for your areas. Nothing? Okay, nothing from Terry. Tom, any reports?
Well, I guess, as you said, the SAM thing has taken a lot of times as well as the road. And also, I would mention, I took a lot of time preparing for the hearing with the TCEQ. And one reason is while this is a water permit, they said the water is coming from the aquifer, the Nacogdoches Aquifer. They said this in the meeting. There's been questions, but this is what the consultant said. And so my contention is that the fuel tanks, which are there, if they were leaking, that makes them relevant to this water issue. It's not just a water runoff, it's a water coming out of the ground. And so we made that point, and I have to say, I have been doing this a long time. I've never seen a housing development going on top of petroleum storage tanks underground. You can put in commercial buildings or parking lot, but never housing since the Love Canal incident in the 1950s. And there's a good reason, a lot of court stuff. And there's a lot of litigation involved. So I spent a lot of time going through that. And of course, they tried to, not TCEQ, the people at the Kimley Horn, the consultant, tried to blow it off. But on the other hand, we made sure they know those tanks are in the ground or have been in the ground, and they're taking water, so it is relevant to this water permit. So we'll see where they go. And we were told everybody that made comments in the meeting would get some kind of a reply from TCEQ. So we'll wait and see.
Have they ever definitively decided that the tanks are still there?
No, you have to dig. That's the issue. They claim they went out and looked and didn't see them, but both EPA and TCEQ records show these are underground storage tanks.
Tom did a
USTs.
great job. He's like, you even have in your report that there are tanks there.
And the EPA does too.
Yeah.
Okay. Just,
So
They just
anyway,
haven't located them.
yeah, leave it.
well, they haven't tried to locate them.
Haven't tried to locate them.
Let's leave it as a report and go on. We don't want to get into too much into a debate there.
Yeah.
Doug,
No, just
any reports from you?
information.
No, that's
and
fine.
ask for information, Ken.
No, that's fair.
No, we've got a lot of projects going on between all of us on the council, and we're staying busy. I do want to say that I do appreciate the turnout that we did have at the TCEQ meeting there in Roy City High School, because for me, it educated me also that the citizens did speak up. They also gave me, in my mind, some concerns that we obviously want to be looking at down the road as well, because they had a lot on their list, you know, and so, you know, picking that up and writing down. So yeah, we still got our work cut out for us.
Okay. Dale?
We had another zoning meeting, went well, and didn't move real fast because of the issues, but everything's going well. Gave the committee a bunch of stuff to read and kind of get their head around. Next meeting, I believe, is Laura, and it's May 7th?
First part of May.
Yeah, first week of May.
It should be on the front of
Website.
the town website.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on the banner.
So
So
check the
welcome
website.
anybody that wants to come and sit through that. And then we, on the sign project, this is now April, we're supposed to hear this month.
Good.
But it's like all the other grants, they all come into Austin at one time, and they, you know, just luck of the draw, which one they're gonna pick up first. But I've got to call into TxDOT Paris, see if they have an update.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Tracy?
Pass.
Okay, so we're moving on to Echo consent agenda. And on the agenda, we have minutes from March 18th, March 19th, March 30th. Our TML annual membership dues are due, $853. There was an update, and I mailed this to council. TrackerSoft for the IT audit was billing us at their full rate, and yet we had negotiated a much lower rate. So thank you to Councilmember Hibbs for catching that. So instead of the bill being $743.75, it's actually $531.25. So we saved a couple $100 there. So that would be up for approval. And then our legal bill for this past month was $376.25. So do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'd make a motion to approve it, but I would also compliment Ms. Laura. She does a great job on the minutes. I'm struggling to find any errors or typos.
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I
That's
have a
what we're
motion
looking
by
for.
Anderson, second.
I'll second.
Okay. Second from Hibbs. Okay, I'm looking back at you, Terry, when I asked for a vote. All in favor? Okay, unanimous. Thank you, council. Okay, moving on to regular agenda. First item up is executive session. So as we labeled, we had an executive session to talk about the results of our recent IT audit, which was done by our IT firm, the group that's basically managing our systems, providing us firewall, virus protection, and all of that. And reviewed the audit, had some discussions about it, and there's some further investigation is a little strong, but further looking around that needs to occur. And so we're going to do that. We had a little bit of a discussion, remembering that we can't take a vote in executive session, and we did not, as to whether that further looking around requires a motion of council, or if, because it's sort of part and parcel to managing our environment, right? It's kind of an administrative function that no motion was required. So I can go either way. If someone wants to make a motion, we can do that. I'm not sure it's necessary, but it's,
Doug?
it's out there. So
What's the
well, let's have a discussion because it's on the regular agenda. So it is something that people can talk about. And let's see, Shelley wanted to speak on it when we get to that point. Any discussion from council? Let's not go into the details of what we talked about. Let's leave that in executive session. But for the public side of it, any conversation?
I just think,
No motions yet either.
yeah, I mean, no, it's just
Really
information.
different public.
I think we, majority decided that we would, pursue, further investigation because we don't know everything yet, so.
Ongoing.
Yeah,
It's
it's
ongoing,
ongoing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess my opinion is that as a community, as a public service, we need to take a vote to authorize the mayor to proceed.
But-
And anyway, that's my opinion.
That's fine. We have differing opinions. Terry, you have anything to weigh in on the? Okay, nothing from Mayor Pro Tem. Shelley, did you want to speak on item 1?
Yes. Okay, Shelley Smith. Do we feel like there has been a security breach with the IT stuff?
Yeah, I'm not going to go into detail, but short answer, no. No, that we are aware of, no damage has been done. Just some interesting, for lack of a better word, behavior.
Well, a security breach wouldn't necessarily mean damage had been done. So I'm not asking, has damage been done? Has there been a security issue with the IT stuff?
Yeah, I'm not going to call it that because I don't think that's what the audit firm called it, the IT folks. So I'm going to stop and say I don't believe so.
Yeah, and until we
And that's
know
just a
more
statement of fact.
information, we
That's-
don't know exactly what to call it,
Yeah.
for lack of a better
Yeah.
word, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, I think the consensus for us was, Terry, were you gonna speak? I didn't know if Terry was gonna speak or not. I think the consensus of, in the meeting was that, with the ongoing investigation, whatever you wanna call it, just letting the mayor have that ability to, go out there and address, whether it be with the IT group or the city attorney or whatever, so we can make sure if we're finding things, it's put our ducks in a row. So that's where we're at, because
Okay.
technically we really don't know what to call it, I guess.
Well, and nothing to you, Shelley, but as a point of order, we don't want to get too far into a discussion because it's more just you giving us comments, and
Okay.
so.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Ongoing.
Okay, any further discussion from council before we come to the end of this? Any motions, no
Well,
motions? It's up to you
I'd make a
guys.
motion that we authorize the mayor to proceed with further actions
Okay.
to investigate this, to pursue that investigation.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Anderson. Do we have a second? Okay, that dies for lack of a second. No motion. Okay, we move on. Suffice it to say, the mayor is going to pursue this, so it's not that we're not going to do anything. I'm just going to do it without a motion because we feel like it's not required. Okay, moving on to item 2 on regular agenda, discuss and take action as needed on Texas Department of Agriculture Community Development Grant Project surveys. So to recap, we were awarded a $750,000 grant requiring a $37,500 match from the town over a 2-year period. And we came up with a list of 4 projects. And I think I shared those out both to the citizens and to the council. Thank you, council, for getting all that together, and to Tyler, our engineering firm, for drawing us a pretty colored picture. And so now the task is to go figure out which of those projects qualify based on the economic requirement that they be low to medium income families living along those roads, right? So the requirement is, to recap here, they have to be at 51% or worse of the median income for that county. So the county, if you look at the score sheets, those numbers are the 80% of the AMFI, which is the low to moderate income levels for Hunt and Kaufman County. They happen to be exactly the same. And so we need to, so 80% of the people that live along these roads that we've identified as possible projects have to be at that level or less, or actually less than that level. Otherwise, it's not eligible, because this money is clearly intended to help the lower income areas. We had a call today, Doug for a few minutes and Tom and I for longer, with our grant administrator to understand exactly what it means to do these surveys, and we got some good information. The bad news is we have to have these the survey information in by the end of April. The good news, if there is any, is we need to do it in order. Remember, we stack ranked our options. So we have 5 options, 5 roads. Option 1 is our first choice, option 2 our second, 3. So we need to start the surveys with the priority roads, as it were, because as she pointed out, we don't want to go around to the ones that are like low down on our list and get them all teased up that you're going to get a new road, and then option 1 passes the test and 5 is not happening. So we need to start doing surveys on option 1, which, if you remember, is actually continuous with option 3. So that's the road that starts beside Faith Temple and goes back to Poetry Road, League Line Road. And it's really in 2 little pieces, but we might as, if we're going to do the road, we might as well do the whole road, because the little bubble that's around it is intended to be the area of benefit, because people have to travel that to get out to a main road.
So there's not a mile radius or anything
Nope.
around that? Okay,
Nope.
just
And-
those people on
And
that
I
road.
will tell you, the grant people don't think in terms of town maps and boundaries and ETJ and all of that. If the driveway for the property comes out to the road that we're talking about working on, they are someone we need to survey.
Okay.
Okay, so if there's a mansion, but its driveway comes out on another road, the mansion doesn't count, right? But if there's, and if it's an empty lot, like farmland, pasture, whatever, it doesn't count for or against us. If it's a vacant house, there's a house there but nobody lives in it, it doesn't count against us. But if it's either a no report, they don't answer the survey, you never get a hold of them, or they refuse, that counts as a high income. So that counts against us.
Okay.
So we want to, so anyway, I have all the rules after we had our discussion earlier today. And I think what I'll do is type those up and share them with council, so everybody's on the same playing field here. Again, we've got less than a couple of weeks, because once Angela, our grant administrator, gets it, she has to get with our engineer and they have to do a detailed budget for the project and a bunch of other things. And so she needs a week and a half, 2 weeks before the deadline, which is, I believe it's
15th of
May
May.
15th. That's the drop dead for TDA. Everything has to be in. Now, the good news, I see you looking over your thing there. So if you look at the scorecard, we do not collect the people's names,
right.
period. And that's what we'll talk about this, I guess, but what I was imagining is we come up with kind of a little bit of a script that we follow, whoever's doing the interview,
Yeah.
that sort of introduces, hey, we're getting funding from the state potentially to improve your road, but it requires that we get just a few pieces of information from you. We're not tracking your name or any specifics. We are going to write down your address, and we're going to ask you how many people live here, men and women. And then we're going to ask you, based on the number of people that live there, whether your total income is above or below a certain number. So if there's one person there, it can
It's
be
not total, it's net.
net. That's right. Take home. So
Yeah.
it's not gross, it's take home.
Right.
And it's only regular income. So if you're retired and you're getting Social Security, maybe a teacher's pension, but you also get money off of investments, the investments don't count. Only your regular income from a retirement, from Social Security, from disability, this
Or a regular
regular
job.
or
Yeah.
job if you have a
Yeah.
job.
Yeah,
Those
and
are-
not may be wrong, also what you want to be careful of, it's per family. You can have more than one family
That's
in
correct.
a
So you
house.
do multiple
You can have
surveys.
the parents and the
Right.
daughter and the two kids are now
Everybody in
living
the
with
house.
her.
That's correct.
That's two families.
Yes, and there's a thing on the form that says, do other families
Goodness.
live in this unit,
Yeah.
yes or no? So the more people that live at the address, the higher their income can be and still qualify for low to mid,
Mhm.
right? So if they have 6 people living there, they can make up to 109,000 a year, and they're still considered low to medium income.
Right.
So the more the merrier. Ignore the entire bottom of the page. We're not going to ask them anything about their race. We don't care. That's not our business, and we don't fill in anything in the bottom. So it's to me. I was a little scared of this in the beginning because I'm like, oh my gosh, we're getting a little personal.
So
here.
we
You know,
just
people-
circle the income. Is
We
that
just,
what
we
do?
just asked them, and again, I think we need to come up with a script, so we're doing it the same way. But is your household income above or below this number? And if
Yeah.
they say above, we circle the above. If it's below, we circle the below. And hopefully 80% of them along that road.
Yeah, but then when
or
you get
below.
down here to including yourself, how many people live in this unit?
Well,
So
she
that-
pointed
okay,
out
here's
2 and
the
3 are
family
really the same
size.
question. I
Yeah.
don't know why
Yeah,
she said it's going to have to be the same answer.
yeah.
So does she go into any detail about how we can go about getting this information, another exception of knocking on the doors? I mean, can we call it in?
She said
Can
they
we mail in?
they prefer face to face, but they will accept phone call
Yeah.
or email if we can reach out that way.
And I
So,
think you have to make at least 2 attempts. at
Right.
Every house.
but if you fail, it counts against you. You want to really try to
You
make.
really do want to get.
And there's not that many houses on this first project.
Well, that's the good note.
Yeah.
It's not 100 houses. I
Right.
mean, they're pretty spread out. So, but I think we need to talk about how we go about this, who does this. Tom commented as we were talking about it earlier that if we make it all the way to option 2 because option 1 fails, if we don't do the surveys and realize it's going to pass, then we go to option 2. Well, Tom lives on option 2 road, so if he approaches a lot of the people on that road, they're not going to think it's ICE or
Right.
somebody hostile. They'll
Well, one of the things I think we need to do, we need to get lanyards, badges.
Well, we can do that.
Yeah.
I also thought about maybe printing up some little flyer that we can tape to the outside of the mailbox, not put in, but tape to the outside if the gate's locked,
Contact us.
and just say, hey, we're trying to,
But no
get
more
your.
than we have. Let's just mail it. What are we talking? A dozen?
Yeah, we don't have much time though. I mean, we're
Yeah.
on a really short fuse. We got to have this to them like, next week.
May
And
15th.
But we
oh
also,
no, we have to have it to them, but in April.
April.
End of April.
And-
We have to have all the surveys done. We have to find one of these 5 projects needs to meet that criteria based on surveys, but we don't want to survey all 5. We want to start with 1. If we don't get solid on that, like, yep, we're in, then we go to 2. And if that one fails, then we go to 3, so on and so forth. So we're going to do it, but we got to do this quickly. We don't have a lot of time to.
So, Mayor, I've got a recommendation, or is there a way, because I'm sitting here, and I know the options and all this other stuff, but for the folks that are out listening, watching, or the folks that are here in the gallery, if you will, is there a way that we can at least post that map on the website so people, if they do have questions,
100%.
because I don't know if these folks, and it's tax money, at least give them the ideal of, well, here's the area we're talking about, because I'm not too sure if people realize where's option 1, 2, and 3, so they at least have an ideal of what our plans are.
Yeah, the more we can publicize this, the better, because maybe people even get excited and say, hey, I want to, talk to you, whatever. I don't know.
We might want to look at getting a Facebook page for the town. Just
So,
a thought.
it's just something to fill it in, especially it kind of gives us, because I said all along, when we start doing surveys, giving folks a heads up of why we're walking around or knocking on their door or whatever, but we give them an opportunity to let them know, this is what's going on, and here's the options that
Go look at
the
it.
council's working on with
Well,
the grant.
and I don't know if you heard this, but one of the things we talked about is having some kind of a little cheat sheet to say, that goes through what every one of us do and say is that what this is about and what we're doing, and explain to them. And one of the points she made was there's no audits. Nobody's coming
No.
back to check up. and
It's the
see.
honor system. I mean,
It's all honor,
you could
100%.
theoretically fill these out, make up numbers and turn them in and they would take them. Of course, you probably wouldn't want to do that, but they don't audit this. They don't call. In all the years that she's been doing this, nobody's ever checked anything. And again, they don't have your name. Now they could reverse look up your address, I guess.
This
And
this is a lot of hard work that we've gone through, and it's been over a year that it's been talked about in the community, so let's show them where we're at up to now.
yeah, I'm fine with that. So Laura, I saw you nodding your head earlier. We'll put a little grant tab and put it on the website so they can look up. And it also kind of shows it's legit. It's like, hey, if you'd like to look at, I mean, if you got the packet, you've already got it, but not everybody downloads the packet. So yeah, happy to make that available and even put the score sheets on there so they can see what we're looking for. So if they want to start doing the math in their head of, oh yeah, we're under that. So anyway, we're a little bit closer, but we've got to qualify a project. Normally a town would have had a project ahead of time and they've got all this worked out. We got a little late start. So thankfully our admin and engineering guy were able to take our 5 in prioritized order, put all those out there. Now TDA is waiting for us to flesh out one of those and say, this is the one we want, and here are the surveys to prove that it meets the criteria. Okay, any other conversation on that? Anybody want to lead this?
Oh, I guess I would, one point she made is that even if someone's temporary, say someone lives in Dallas and comes out on the weekends, they're still counted.
Yeah.
Right. Well, my thing would be, pretend like you live here. What is your income? I mean, it's just, whether
If
you're
you were
living here,
living here,
living there,
what
I
was your
mean,
income?
what's your income? So we just, we hope they make the numbers, but anyway. Okay, if nobody has any, I mean, Laura will get the surveys and the proposed projects out on the website. And I guess Tom and Doug are kind of running with me on this grant stuff, just generally speaking. So I guess if council is okay with it, I'll just kind of work between the two of them as I put together a possible little talking points, that we would greet the people with, and kind of dividing and conquering. I think one of the things, I didn't have time this afternoon after a call to do it, but I thought, I just want to take that little road from 1565 back to League Line or Poetry Road and just pull it up on CAD, just see how many houses there even are. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it's a big number.
No, it's
And
not.
you can sort of get names and things off of CAD. And we also have
we
voter
can pretty much
rolls.
name everybody
Yeah, well,
because you got Dawn and
Carla lives on
Carla.
the corner there.
then they had the other house on the other corner.
But again, you got to go by where the driveway is. So
Yeah.
Carla's driveway is really out the side. I'm not sure that it's even. she
Yeah,
doesn't
but she didn't have anything up here. I don't know.
Right off.
Or is
No,
that
that's all
Dawn's?
Dawn's.
That's yeah.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Dawn's. She has property behind that, but doesn't have a driveway. So
But
we're looking for driveways.
See,
That's-
they're two different people, so they're two surveys there.
Yeah.
And then
Anyway,
you got-
we'll figure it out. So I think the first thing is to generate the talking points and then generate a list of addresses along those roads,
That
and
shouldn't be too
then
hard.
one of us go start reaching out to people, whether it's by leaving something on their mailbox or knocking on their door. It's
Yeah.
going to be a
I'll
little harder
volunteer.
than if we were in a city where we could just walk up, and knock
It-
on the door.
But Mike, I believe she also said it doesn't have to be council members doing this.
No, anybody
It can
do
be
it.
anybody. So volunteers are accepted.
Yes,
And I'll volunteer.
and appreciated.
Yeah.
I can knock doors.
Okay.
I'll drive you.
Okay.
Well, again, I don't, hopefully we won't meet with any, anger. I mean, it's like we're trying to give you a new road, but there's like requirements, and the requirement is that we have to ask a couple of questions, and if you're willing to help us, we might be able to get you a new road.
Yeah,
Because otherwise, you're not going to get a road anytime soon because we can't afford it. So,
right.
okay, we don't have anybody signed up for that. Any other conversation, Council? Terry, you got anything on that? Okay, Terry says nothing. Okay, item 3. Again, I think it was Councilman Bryant who brought this out. Thank you for that we needed to have this resolution. And this is straight out of the application packet that basically authorizes certain members of the town to have authority, and I filled it out exactly the way our grant administrator told me to fill it out. So she said, put all these names in there. And so the reason all of the names are in there is because she said to do so. So this basically tells TDA who it is in the town of Poetry that is able to approve projects and approve checks for the projects and all of the roles that are listed there. Discussion?
So you're needing a,
Well, at the end of this, we don't
We need to
have
vote on
anybody
it.
that wants to speak on it, but we need a motion to approve this resolution.
I make a motion that we approve the
What?
resolution, what?
We have to,
Nobody signed up. Anybody in the audience want to talk about the resolution? Okay. Terry, you got any comment? Okay, no from Terry. So yeah, motion to approve the resolution.
So moved, yeah.
Okay, so Doug makes the motion. Second,
second.
Tom does the second. All in favor? Okay, unanimous. Thank you, council. Okay, so to Councilwoman Hibbs's point, all we're going to do is take the draft off of this, sign it, seal it, and it will get filed with Texas Department of Agriculture, letting them know who the points of contact are for the town of Poetry on this grant. As I keep saying, we're going to get a lot smarter as we go through this whole grant process. This is okay. The next item, well, hang on. We still have a quorum, but we don't have Terry.
He'll probably call back.
Yeah, not if we beat him to it.
There he goes.
Okay, flip. Okay, you got us, Terry? Okay, Terry says yes. Okay, anyway, we have talked once or twice in the past about doing a survey of our citizens for the purposes of long-range planning. And Councilmember Bryant has been kind of working on that with Secretary Laura and others collecting questions. And Councilman Bryant corrected me after I'd already published the agenda that he feels like they're pretty close to having a final list. So Dale, did you want to kind of
Yeah, well, this
Speak
is
on
just
this.
our 5-year strategic plan of how we're gonna manage and pay for everything on the town. So we have some drafts of, the survey. I've got some other questions coming. We weren't able to incorporate those. So I think maybe tonight our best discussion is we now have to figure out how we're gonna, implement this survey. This would just be, obviously we have to protect personal information, but we also have to ensure that the person filling out the survey, and this is up for discussion tonight, it's filling out the survey that we have to ensure that they're
like a real
Citizens.
person, and yeah.
And I think that's the first, do we want just residents and owners, or should we just look at property owners?
I'd look at property owners. That
I-
encompasses everybody.
Okay. I think generally we should all kind of agree with that. we're
Well,
looking at-
just, I mean, I haven't rehearsed this, but just thinking about it, I mean, if we're talking about input to the future of our town, it should be people that live in our town. It shouldn't be, developers and
live in our
outsiders.
town
And,
or own property in the town.
well, I guess if they own property, I don't know.
I mean, it could be a renter.
Because they
Do we
could,
want-
well,
the opinion-
they could have this as a secondary property and not vote in the town.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
I don't,
come
I
out
don't,
here on
Well, that's
weekends.
another question. Are we required to make them or have them as voters? In other words, if that's the case, then we go to the voter rolls. But I don't think that we need to require them to be registered voters, right?
well, I mean, this is survey data, so
Right,
it's
and
not
it's-
like we are legally bound to take action
Right.
on it. If we
Right.
get, if
This
we
is
get a
just for our
junk piece of
use.
data, we can just reject it and say, okay, this is, somebody comes in and says, I think you need to plow poetry under and make it an Amazon distribution center. It's like, yeah, I don't think so.
So, okay, so how do we implement this?
Well, I think we talked in the past, and Laura, you're welcome to get up and speak as an expert witness, but I think we talked about using something like SurveyMonkey, something that's sort of a known entity that, lots of people use, that has all those protections built in, that not necessarily to make sure they're a citizen, but to make sure somebody doesn't go in and do
Yeah,
the
but
survey
that's why
50
we're gonna have
times.
to capture enough information to qualify them as a vote,
So, well, I'll give you
as
an
an opinion.
example. Rockwall County has a survey on Facebook,
Mhm,
and it has to do with transportation.
mhm.
And they use tiny URL. We could go that route. These questions, and I think these questions affect voters, though. I guess that's what we need to determine.
Well, that's why we're talking about it,
Yeah.
yeah. Now, Terry brought up too, which I thought was a good idea, and Terry, you may want to chime in on, we go with a QR code. If someone could just take a QR code, go ahead, Terry.
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
So the conversation that Dale and I had the other day is, I guess it's twofold. One, how concerned is the city with, I guess the potential of people continually voting, and maybe swaying the survey one way or the other, which I think I've kind of moved my position on that. I'm not as concerned about that because one, that takes a lot of effort, but two, I think. Well, I'll just leave it at that. I don't have that as a concern. If the council shares that concern, it's going to be difficult in one of those SurveyMonkey style deals to really regulate how many times a certain address can vote. One discussion that Dell and I had was, in the municipal government world, they send the survey to an email, and that email is recognized by the platform. It can only cast one vote. But for us to get emails, it would be difficult. So what Dell and I discussed is, do we do a QR that we can put on banners and put around town that someone could click on that, fill out a sheet, and it's going to verify their address, and they would have to submit their email. And that's the only two things. I don't know if there's software out there that says, okay, hey, this address is already popped up, so therefore they can't have another vote. That's some of the questions that I don't have an answer for, but it's definitely a way to protect the integrity of the survey.
Yeah, and maybe that's something, Laura, that you could investigate to see what vehicle we want to.
Right. So the couple of them that I looked into so far, the SurveyMonkey is going to cost the town money to do it. I don't know, significant money, but you can do a survey for free with 10 questions for free, but you can't view all the results. And you can't get the results downloaded and manipulated without paying for the premium service. So I was looking at some other ways to possibly do it. And honestly, the thing that I've landed on that seems like we might be able to put a control in, like Mayor Pro Tem Fowler was talking about, through the website, our website, we can embed a Google form in there and we can make however we want. It would go straight into our website managed by Wix. One of the required fields that we can mark required is email and property address. That gets exported automatically to a Google Sheet. And then we can just match and see, is this address repeated? If it's repeated, we can say, well, we're only going to count one of those entries. It's going to be very easy to internally be able to track that. It's free. And I think we can have as many questions as we want. There might be a little bit of limitation on some of the way that it's worded on here, but I think we can work around it. I was hoping that our website hosting software, Wix, would allow survey forms, like an official survey form. They do not currently. There's a third-party app. There are 2 third-party apps that function with the Wix website, but they have terrible reviews. I don't feel comfortable using something that other people have used that said is unreliable. So SurveyMonkey is an option. I can look into the number of questions you have and see how much that's going to cost for us to get the premium service to be able to download the results, view the results. Also with that, you can make required fields and some that are you don't require an answer to certain questions that they don't want to, but the required fields to get to the point of not being able to duplicate and have a lot of extra votes would be to require an email and require the property address, because we can sort it by that. So SurveyMonkey cost us a little bit of money, but everybody does recognize it, or do it through our website with Google Forms.
Yeah.
And we can also do a QR code with that as well. You can do free QR codes.
Well, the QR
online
code would
already.
just take you to the website, right?
Right, it takes you straight to our website if we do the Google form.
Right, so it's just a faster, well, and to your point, Laura, and I said SurveyMonkey just because I've done those over the years, but, to me, first time through, if you're confident you can put that together, we do it ourselves. I mean, no lives are going to be lost if we do this incorrect. And I mean, I'm not even sure what our response is going to be. Is it going to be 2 people or 50 people? I mean, if it's 20 or 30 people, I'm going to be impressed. I just don't think it's going to be 1,000 people.
Well, what if we did a public, what do they call, not a
Hearing,
public,
not a
not
hearing,
a
but a
hearing,
meeting.
but a town hall
Town hall
meeting,
or something?
town hall,
And invite
and then
people.
invite the town to come, host it at the school, and just kind of give them a rundown. This is why we're doing this survey. You'll find the surveys out on the table, or we'll
Have a
on the
lockbox, just
chairs.
let them drop it off in a
I
lockbox.
don't even know that we need a lockbox.
Well,
per
I
se.
mean, a secure,
whatever
somewhat
whatever
secure.
y'all want to do. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's probably going to be the easiest way and the most efficient way.
Yeah.
But that's my
Well,
opinion.
I don't know.
Well,
To me, the website's more efficient just because I can sit at home and do it myself, over a cup of coffee and knock it
That's
out.
true.
I mean, I just, personally, I feel a burden every time I have to get us together because it
Yeah.
takes a lot of resources, takes time away from
And
your.
see, I won't do surveys online.
Well-
But that's the difference.
Well, and two,
Yeah,
I'm not
so-
sure
We could
if
have
you
the
speak
option.
also, Laura.
Yeah.
I mean, am I going to worry that you know who I am that's saying I think poetry shouldn't have subdivision? I mean, what are you going to come after me or something? I don't know that we're not asking your political affiliation or your religion or anything intimate. It's just, hey, what's important to you about our town, or what do you think we should?
No, my thing about not doing surveys is most of them are not secure. That's my thing.
Well, again, but we're not
Yeah.
collecting any. I mean, your address is not a secret. We can figure that out pretty easily.
No, it's not that. It's the server.
I can't speak to that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because
Um,
I mean, you go look it up, and you type in certain types of surveys, and say, do they have any breaches? And tons of them do.
Well,
I mean, that's
in
just
this case, they'd be coming to our
Right.
website, right,
Yeah.
on Wix, and
Well-
we'd be collecting the data. So I think it's.
would be a third party, or would it go
No.
direct? Oh, okay.
No,
Okay.
if we, I'm not using the third, I wouldn't recommend the council
Yeah.
Yeah.
vote for the third party apps that I've seen through
Okay.
that. It would be our town website with a tab that directly links to a Google form that is connected to the town's
Server.
server.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you, between now and next month's meeting, Laura, can you mock that up for council? so we can kind of see what it
To
would look
play with
like?
the form? Sure.
Yeah, go ahead and create a little goofy survey of just silly stuff,
Yeah, we have
whatever.
a draft.
Yeah, you don't even have
Terry
to
and
put
I
the real
went-
questions in, but it would be a mock-up that'll operate exactly like the real survey would, but it'll show us, oh, look, I can scan the code, I can log in,
Sure.
I can,
I
it
can do that.
works, it answers, you collect the data, just do a little trial run between now and the next meeting, and then that way the next month we can come back and confidently say, we can do this on our Wix website with a QR code for a little easier access for citizens. We could put it in the poetry post or whatever, something
Okay.
that people would see, so.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Again, I think it's in my mind at least, it's just an attempt to reach out to our citizens, to our voters, and say, hey, in my words, what's important about poetry to you? What do you treasure about our town? Is it the roads? Is it the open lands? Is it the trees, the deer? Whatever it is. So I don't think. I would answer any one of these questions and not worry that you knew I was answering, because it's not going to.
I don't think, I'm not worried about, I wouldn't worry about identity for any,
Yeah, I don't-
any of
It's more
those.
transparent.
But to the points that were made earlier, we don't want somebody that doesn't even live around here swinging a big bat at something or doing, I don't know who's going to go to the trouble of entering our survey 50 times to skew the numbers.
Right.
All right, so
That's probably not worth it.
So the decision is, who are we gonna focus on the survey? Voters, property owners, or occupants?
I'd say property owners.
Both what?
We can both.
I guess three, so two of the three or all three?
Oh, okay, that's what you're asking?
Well, no, I'd say people who live here,
Who own
because they may
property.
not be property owners, but they still live here.
So they could be renters, they
Yeah.
could be owners, they could
Okay,
be,
so if
second
you're
family.
if
Anybody
you
that
are
votes.
A resident,
Yeah, anybody that votes.
yeah, if you're a resident of, now, do we want to
You
include
live-
ETJ since it's kind of confusing to a lot of people, and go ahead? I don't know the harm in getting the information from like everything in the blog.
Terry shaking his
Terry's
head.
shaking his head.
Terry says no. You only want town?
Yeah, the discussion that I had with Dale is if we stick to the, kind of the franchise fee model, that if your driveway touches the town.
Who's got skin in the game?
There's lots
Okay.
of properties that's fully in the ETJ, and I don't want those people to be able to influence how this future council might spend various monies that's inside the town boundaries.
Okay, that's fair.
So, property owners. I
Property,
tend to go that route.
property owners
think it
in the
should be-
town of Poetry.
People with skin in the game.
Right. Well, and we can tell them, if you're paying the trash franchise fee, you're eligible, right? Because
There you
isn't
go.
that the criteria?
Yeah,
Right, Terry?
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, so if you are currently paying the Blackjack Town of Poetry franchise fee, you are eligible to do the survey.
Whether they're property owners or not.
Well, if they're paying the fee, they've been
Yeah,
deemed as
That makes sense to
in
me.
the town. So,
I think it makes sense.
okay, we've got some citizens want to speak on this. Let's pause council for a moment. David Emart, okay, David passes, and Shelley Smith. The topic is citizen survey.
Yeah. Can you guys read the questions that are going to be in the survey?
Well,
They're probably gonna change.
We've got a lot of them. We're trying to consolidate them. Our goal is to have something in the neighborhood of limited to about 10 to 12 questions.
So what are the general topics that you're going to be asking about?
Well, we're going to be asking mainly more informational kind of stuff. Are you aware how wide the town is? Or are you aware of our source of income and how much that is? It's as much an educational survey to let people know what's going on as much as to get their opinion of it.
but I think, and again, we're not supposed to be having a conversation, but it's a statement of fact, because you're kind of asking. So, I think it calls the question to the citizenry as to, I'm putting in my own words, does it bother you that the town doesn't have a boundary survey? Do you think that's a priority? Or planning and zoning? future building permits, things like that. What are your thoughts on further regulation inside the town of
And another
Poetry?
question we're looking at is, are you aware that part of your property is in the town and another part is not?
Mhm.
Ask questions like that. Of course, the income thing, and I've got a different list than you, a more current list on the draft.
And
And
then
then,
there's one here, do you believe the town is meeting your expectations, whatever your expectations are? Yes or no, I guess.
And one of the questions we had also is, are you aware that we're out of compliance on certain issues? Maybe talking about that. That we have a zoning ordinance. What do you think about it? Is it written? How well do you understand it? Just to really to kind of get a feel from the people. Questions about ETJ and where you stand on that.
Yeah,
And
so
really
I,
give
I would like
bottom
to
line what you
see
feel
us do a
about zoning.
workshop on the questions.
Okay.
So we narrow the questions down,
Well, we
Yeah.
definitely got
and we need to do a
So,
workshop.
because somehow I'm thinking somewhere I saw a question about, are you, okay with a property tax?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Again, understand the whole purpose behind all of this
Mhm.
is a 5-year strategic plan. How are we gonna
Yeah.
get to 5 years and how
And-
are we gonna pay for it?
I mean, it seems like and I don't know if these questions have been decided on or not.
They
but,
haven't.
But
They
there
haven't.
was something on there about, are you aware that only 5% of the people live in the town of Poetry inside the city limits? Did I read
I
that
don't know
wrong
about,
somewhere? Where
I
did I
don't know,
get
if-
that?
I don't know if 5% is an accurate number. You mean, is your house in the town?
Yeah, and there was only
Oh,
5%.
do you understand that only a handful of properties are 100%
Yeah.
in the town boundaries?
Uh-huh, and that's only like 5% of the entire
I don't know if
population.
it's 5%.
Yeah.
It's probably
So
not
I-
off.
Yeah, I could have imagined.
With
but I don't
approximately
know, I'm just
95% of all properties only have a portion of their property in the town.
To your point though, Shelley, we have not decided on these questions. They're still being gathered and processed.
Okay.
And
So
to your point,
let me ask you, what do you
Tracy,
think about that?
I mean, I'm
But-
fine if we want to do a workshop at the front end of the next meeting where we kind of go through these and do the
Yeah.
final determination of
Yeah.
what Dale and Terry have come up with. I'm good with
That'll be a
that.
big workshop.
I mean, we,
Got
we
the
need
budget
to
too.
agree on
Oh, absolutely.
what we ask. If we're
Mhm.
going to bother the citizens, let's agree
Yeah.
on what it is we're going to bother them
Yeah.
with.
So, so I didn't imagine the property tax thing that is being thrown around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, not the idea of implementing one, but just asking people what their thoughts are on it.
Yeah.
I mean, just
Would
what-
they be for
We
property
don't want to make the
tax?
decision for you.
Yeah.
Citizens need to tell us what they want.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I
Where do they want us to be in 5
just
years?
about guarantee you this council is not going to pursue a
That's-
property tax. I mean, but
We're
that's
not
a future
gonna-
thing. But if we're going to talk about 5 or 10 years, I think we
Yeah.
need to know.
But I think what people also need to understand is that property tax can be $1.50 per 100. Okay, now you're not going to get this council to vote on that, but people need to think about future councils
Sure.
and what their authority
Absolutely.
is.
Yeah.
Well, and as we do the numbers too, it's like how are we got 20 something miles of roads if you take out the state roads, and
Yeah.
they're
Mhm.
they're
26 and a half.
deteriorating. They're falling apart. You're fortunate that you
In
live
5
on one the
years, it'll
state
be
takes
another
care of.
5
know,
years
right?
older.
Wow, they're
Yeah. I think it's a really good thing in there to put the thing about, are you aware that a mile of road costs $1 million
Yeah.
to redo from the ground
Well,
up?
I think it's
the
higher
people
than
need to
that
know
now.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not 100 million.
Well,
we're
we're
gonna-
gonna,
yeah,
that's a
replacing
typo.
asphalt
Yeah.
road.
okay. Anyway,
It's
we're
about a
Okay.
million.
Cool.
we're off in a
Thanks.
conversation. We don't want to do that. Thank you, Shelley.
So just from my point of view and kind of maybe where Shelley was going, because I read all of this and my comments are, in listening to what y'all are talking about, we got further discussions to go into. Because some of the things that we're saying, hey, let's talk about regulations and codes and permits and all this. I just want people to know that, especially me, I'm not one to just throw it out there on the table and say, we're gonna start this tomorrow. There's a process that goes through everything that we're trying to look at, trying to do, and it's a working process. So we gotta make sure that
Well,
that
and it,
everybody's understanding, like to her point, and some of the stuff, she needs an understanding, or the citizens need an understanding, what's our thinking and the reason why we even put it into place.
yeah, and that's
That's
fair.
my 2 cents.
Well, and I think it probably would benefit us to put a little preamble in front of the survey that says, listen, the reason we're gathering this information is not
Yes.
because we're going to go draft a bunch of legislation. We're
Yeah.
just trying to build a long-term plan for us and more importantly for other council that says, here's where we want to go.
Yeah, because in our ability to try to do our budget right now, there are some things that we're thinking in the future, but if it's gonna require, how are we gonna pay for it, basically? We just kind of want to know what the feelings are so we can kind of get a process.
Well, that's right. And I don't think as much as we are elected officials, I'm not going to say that the six of us know the temperature of the average person that lives in
Of the
Poetry. I
2,000
don't.
people.
I mean, I know the people I hang out with thoughts on things, but there's a lot of people out there that don't make noise that deserve to be
Heard.
heard and listened to.
So the
So
flag goes up.
yeah, I want to get their thoughts and ideas too. And it's going to be on all kinds of topics. I mean, do you know we have a zoning ordinance, and do you agree or disagree with it? Do you agree or disagree with the property tax or whatever? I don't know. I mean, there's just all kinds of things we could do, but anyway. Okay, we're not going to take any action on that other than I wrote a note to your point, Tracy. We'll schedule a workshop next month.
Well, we're going to have a budget workshop too.
Yeah, so to discuss the final, so Terry and Dale, does that work for you guys to kind of tweak the questions down and give us kind of a list to pick from? Because I think the other thing is it doesn't need to be 30 questions. That'll wear people out. It
No.
needs to be sort of 10 or
Condensed.
less.
Yeah.
The smaller, the more likely they are to actually
We
answer
kind of
it.
set it at max a dozen questions.
Yeah, that's probably pushing it. But anyway, so you guys continue to refine. And to your point, Doug, I mean, Laura's been kind of collecting these from those of us who gave them to her. I did not for a while, so we didn't just jump on this. I mean, we've been doing this for a little
I
bit.
understand it. It's just the general public, when they read things like, well, they're talking about doing this. Well, for me to explain what it pertains to or how it needs to be developed. I mean, it takes a lot of work and you got to get some input as well. So.
Right.
So once we get the input, then we'll figure out how to implement it.
Yeah, I will say with confidence that nothing we get from this survey is going to be actioned on anytime soon. I mean,
It's a 5-year
we just
plan.
need to know where we're going. So we're not, whatever we bring up in the survey is not going to happen anytime soon because,
Well, I guess my 2 cents is I think need to stick to what you said is that it's the priorities of our town,
right.
not necessarily just opinions, but priorities. What do we need to be spending time and effort on?
Well, to Doug's point, because it comes down to a budget. At some point, it's spending
Yeah.
money. I mean, what
That's
are we
exactly
going to?
right.
And our time.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what they think.
Yep.
We've got a budget.
So priorities is really a key word.
Yep.
And y'all will see a lot of that next month when Doug and I finish the
Budget
preliminary budget. How's
Okay.
that?
Okay.
Okay, Terry, you got anything else on that? Okay, Terry says no. So moving on to regular agenda item 5. Let's see, we got a couple people to speak on this, so don't let me go past it. Discuss and take action as needed on Town of Poetry outdoor and open burning ordinance. I'll start the conversation. Doug and others can chime in. So let me go back to because I'm the one that kind of started this issue. My original intent was to give back a right that I believe we lost when we incorporated, and that is the ability to burn outdoors, brush, trees, hay bales, whatever we need to burn, because my interpretation of the law is in the state of Texas, you cannot open burn inside the city limits unless the town has an ordinance that says you can burn. And that ordinance has to be 100% compliant with TCEQ, who governs, as Tracy has pointed out, all burning in the state. Because as she said, it's an air quality issue. So you can't burn tires and plastic and chemicals and things like that. You can only burn organics that originate on that property. You can't haul them in and start a business or any of that. So my original intent was that we come up with an ordinance that allows, because people right now are burning in the town of Poetry. I mean, they are, and we're not chasing them down or anything. Now, this does not take away nor limit in any way the TCEQ's ability to come in and cite somebody or regulate something to do with burning. It does not hinder our fire departments, whether it be Terrell or Union Valley or others supporting them from their ability to come in and fight fires and investigate and whatever. But it does give citizens with certain rules, the ability to burn legally, and also us the ability to enforce burn bans and things like that. So, discussion from council.
Doug?
Well, I know it has been a subject of conversation, which made me work even harder because for me, it was kind of a general, ordinance that we could do. But there was conversations about or comments about, well, another regulation, who's going to enforce it? How are we going to manage it? And so forth and so on. So taking that and doing some more framework, and I know Tracy and Terry have worked on it too. So there was a lot of comments of, well, and then when you go and try to research it, come different things. So the bottom line is how I want to present it is that TCEQ has the directions, the however you want to say it, compliance of what you can and can't burn. And it also says that you can burn in the town of Poetry, but you also have to follow exceptions that are recognized. And those
By
exceptions,
TCEQ.
huh?
No, go ahead.
And those exceptions is exactly what the rules and the guidelines for the TCEQ. You can still, but we have to have something in place to be able for TCEQ to also recognize it. Because if we don't have anything to say what are the guidelines or exceptions, whoever or whatever we're going to be burning or whatever could be subject to some sort of. It's like I want to bake a cake, but I don't know how to bake one, so I need some directions. Well, the TCEQ of what to burn and what not to burn is on the website, and it's a follow through. We can still have the ability to burn our brush, burn your pressure, your pasture, your crops, and all that other stuff. But there are some guidelines, and it goes further out to say you can't do it on windy days, whatever that wind, we determine the wind is, burning bans and that sort of thing. So it's to protect our community from having somebody just come in and just start burning something. One of the rules in the state is you can't bring burning material on a property. In other words, or you can't bring junk or a remodel of a house or whatever, and I'm going to take it home and I'm going to burn it without going to the dump. That's bringing property on top of that to burn it, and that's illegal. Of course, you'd want that too, because you don't want that smell either. So, we can have burning. It's just we got to make sure that people know the rules of when you want to burn and how you and what you can burn. There's federal law. I don't look good in orange, so I'm not going to say you can go out and burn, tires and insulation off of wire and all that stuff. Those are big no-nos. So it just gives them, as the mayor stated, it just gives folks the opportunity to say, okay, I can burn, but what are the exceptions? And TCEQ is very well broke them down, and it's very, recreational fires, you go get, your charcoal grill or fire pits are very common now. It says you can do all that. It's just, we just want to make sure we have directions for the citizens to have that ability to know what they're getting into.
Well, and the other thing, and I've made this point on other topics as well, we have a number of us that have lived out here for a long time, and we've got pretty good sensibility about doing things like burning. But we've got a lot of people that are moving out here from other parts of the country, from denser areas, towns of Rockwall, Heath, and others, and they don't know what the rules are. That's why we're going to help them with putting culverts in when they throw their driveway in to make sure they're not flooding their neighbors. To me, this is another one where we help them. Hey, yes, if you chop down a tree, yes, you can legally burn it. but, you know, make sure there aren't any tires or whatever in there. So it's just kind of providing some common sense. We're not charging anything. And all of the legal checking I've done says that the person that starts the fire is responsible for it, not the town.
No,
I mean, if somebody starts a fire on their property and it causes damage, that person is in big trouble, not the
Yeah.
town of Poetry. We're not taking responsibility. We're simply restating the rules that TCEQ. And so, you know, one of the things we did at a meeting a month or so ago when we started this was we made a couple of adjustments, but then, you know, remembering that we cannot make the rules any less
They had to be marched.
restrictive, right? So we wanted to change it to, for example, you know, you can start the fire at sunrise. Well,
Sunrise,
TCEQ
sunset.
says an hour after sunrise. We can't back it up an hour. That's a no-no. That would be, you know, moving towards burning it dark. And so anyway, we've corrected that. This, to the best of my knowledge, this is 100% TCEQ compliant. This is straight out of their book. It just has the town of Poetry on it.
Well, and it also says to anybody affiliated with fire department, regardless whether they're paid, volunteer, marshal, county, they have that authorization. So the recommendations, if somebody's burning, you can call the local fire department, because they have to make a report on all that, and that's where all of that stuff starts. So nobody needs to go out there and start a fight with somebody
But so-
burning.
Is Town of Poetry going to enforce this, or do we call the fire department to enforce it?
TCEQ is the last guy to enforce it, but the fire departments will, because I've had those situations here in Poetry. Hey, you know, guy down the road's burning. Okay, well, we'll take care of it. I was driving the other night and there was a fire at night. You could tell. The fire department was responding. So the fire department has their authority as well. So they can also.
And the question is, Union Valley,
Mhm.
is all of Poetry included in their service area?
Yes.
All, yes?
Well, no, not Kaufman County. They
I'm sorry, did you say Hunt or Kaufman?
He
Union
said
Valley.
all of Poetry.
Okay, that's
That's
Hunt
Hunt
County.
County.
So,
yeah, they try to stay on the Hunt County
They stay on
side.
the
If they
side.
get over in
Okay.
Kaufman, they get yelled at. So
And they will, not a fire out of control. You report a fire,
Mhm,
if someone's burning,
mhm.
and they will come to the town. It's
Yes.
not out of control. They'll come to the town or the county or the ETJ. It
Correct.
doesn't matter.
yes.
Firemen will go where the fire is. In fact,
Well, it's
To your
not out of
point.
control.
and no. To your point, my neighbor called me and said her kitchen's on fire. So Union
Well,
Valley
that's not my point.
responded.
I have a burn pile in town, and the Union Valley will come and question me on that burn pile
Only if they got a call.
if they get a call.
Right,
If
that's
they
right.
get
If
caught.
somebody reports it.
Yeah.
But if it's under control, I mean, at what point? I mean, we have an ordinance,
Mhm.
and we could fine them $2,000,
Up to, right?
That's incorrect information.
okay?
TCQ
I
can
think
fine you up to
section
$2,000. We can
section
only fine you up
7.
to 500, according to
What'd you say?
TML. Not TML, but Texas Local
Well,
Government
to
Code.
answer
But who's gonna enforce the fine? Town or the Union Valley?
if it's a TCU oversight, then they need to be. The fire departments aren't going to do the fining.
So
They're
we're
gonna
not,
they're going to recommend it to
so
whoever.
the town of Poetry has no responsibility. We're gonna have an ordinance, Union Valley's gonna collect the fines, and,
I don't know if they're going to collect fines.
well.
Well, let's go back to what Berman said about that.
Okay,
Let me find that.
I mean, when it's one or two incidents.
Uniform Fire and Building Codes, recent editions of the International Building Code. The regulations are comprehensive. We can adopt any or all of the international codes, and there are a number of them, but simply adopting the regulations is the easy part. Enforcing them, not so much.
There you go.
can hire a third party to perform inspections, to review permanent applications, and to file cases where violations are found. Permit fees can be imposed at a level designated to cover the costs associated with running the permit an inspection program. The town does not have a municipal court to prosecute violations. Maybe a local justice court might accept the responsibility, and then he goes on to say more.
But I can
So-
assure you, if there was a fire that was out of the exceptions of TCEQ, fire department's gonna respond, they're gonna recognize that, and then they're gonna turn it in.
To who?
TCEQ is not gonna be out here.
Who are they gonna
covering
return
everything.
it into?
You do it in steps, you do it by, the city, county, state, and in this case, well, the state's TCEQ. But that's what I'm saying, they're not gonna run out here with lights and siren when the fire's going on. But
So the only
if
time,
if Union Valley puts the fire out and they feel like
No,
they're
no,
just,
it's not out of control. It's not an out of control
well,
fire.
then there's nothing to it. The guys are gonna go like, be careful.
Yeah.
and you
keep
can
an eye
still
on it.
How
burn
often
within
are
the
they
city
gonna come out
limits.
here on dry runs?
Well, here's the thing. We always promote, if you're gonna do a burn, call the fire department, call the county and say, hey, I just
The
want.
county?
That's
Even
all
in a
I want.
trash
Not Union
barrel?
Valley.
No.
Well, I'm asking.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm getting bombarded by different ways here. If you're gonna burn your brush, and if you feel like somebody's gonna call it in, you call the county and say, hey, I'm gonna burn this big brush pile. Just wanna let you know. Okay, so when there's the call comes in, the county's gonna say,
Already been reported.
you know, okay, well, yeah, we know there's a controlled burn going on, okay? So if it gets out of hand, then they're gonna get a 911 call, and then the fire department's gonna go back out.
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't like to go out and get on the rigs and say, we see smoke and we're gonna go chase it. So we always try to let people know.
Can I
Just
say
give us-
something now?
Yeah.
Or Mike?
Yeah, go ahead.
So Bill and I guess Tracy too a little bit. Here's how I see it, and I've said this before. I'm for this because, to Mike's point, it allows our citizens to do something that they are legally unable to do right now. I know Tracy's shaking her head, but it's in the Texas Administrative Code. It is against the law unless it is passed an ordinance by the city. Period. End of story.
What?
Secondly, as far as the enforcement and stuff, I share that same concern with y'all. We have a ton of ordinances that we always discuss enforcement. The enforcement is not ours. We have ILAs with the counties, and ultimately that would go to the county fire marshal. To your point about how many times will the fire department run on these calls, Doug and I have made a career of this. When someone calls, we respond. It doesn't matter. Our investigation might come up that no harm, no foul, or it might come up that, yeah, this fire got out of control and it needs to be put out.
All right.
That's my, I guess, we can agree to disagree, Tracy, or anybody on that board. The way I read the Texas Administrative Code is if we do not pass this, it is illegal for our citizens to burn.
But where does the Texas Administrative Code come from? Is that TCQ?
Say it again, Tracy.
The Texas Administrative Code, 111.219,
219, number B.
is
letter
that
B.
under TCQ?
Huh?
It's under TCU, correct?
TCEQ puts their laws in the Texas Administrative Code. TCEQ doesn't have
Right.
a state statute.
Right. So,
It's 111-219, letter B.
Right. right. All right. So, if local prohibition does not exist, there is no local municipal rule forbidding burning in corporate city limits. That's in TCEQ. County burn bans or regional air quality rules are not in effect.
If
Okay.
they're not in effect,
Right.
you can burn.
Right.
But I got it right here off the website from TCEQ. The municipal open burning ordinance typically supplements or restricts state rules. If a municipality does not have a local ordinance, residents or property owners may still conduct open burning.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I've been saying.
Provided
Okay?
the burning falls under the TCEQ recognized exception.
So you're not
Exactly.
burning tires, roofing,
Right.
chemicals.
Right.
So
Okay, got that.
So,
I
so
think that's
to the
common
point
sense.
of, I see that anything that we're coming up with, to the main point is we want to be able to have, the citizens have the ability to continue doing what they're doing.
And that
They,
tells me
that,
that
you
it
just
says
read
they
it.
do.
That
Well,
gives them
but-
that permitted.
But wait a minute, in
permission.
the TCEQs, this is their packet, so it says under 111.219, general requirements for allowable outdoor burning.
That's right.
Burning must be outside the corporate limits of a city or town except where the incorporated city or town has enacted ordinances which permit burning consistent with TCEQ, subchapter E, authority of local governments.
Mhm.
I mean, that's TCEQ's words. It says you can't
He
burn in the
just
city
read you
limits.
TCEQ words too. That said it is permitted unless we have an ordinance that's restrictive.
But
I
says
went
we
and looked
can't.
at most towns. No, TCEQ says we can in part of it, and another part they don't.
Okay, well,
Now,
I
most
don't understand
towns,
what we're arguing about.
most towns,
I don't know.
most
We've got
towns.
ordinance.
Can I have the floor, please?
Yeah.
Let's just do
Most
it.
towns. Did anybody go research other towns?
Mhm.
All right. When they have an open burn, they usually have a burn ordinance. And then they have a supplement. It's not an ordinance, it's just a piece of paper that references the TCQ illegal burning. And then you have an open burn. It's not even an ordinance, it's just like a pleasantry page that you are allowed to burn XYZ ABC.
But we voted on this last week with those few
No.
amendments.
No, and there's
we didn't.
there
Last
no,
month.
Well,
we
we
did.
did, but we pulled it back.
But to add the few points that were caught.
That's right. We
And
pulled
that
it-
was what was brought back for.
Well,
And
we
those
pulled
were
it
added.
We pulled it back because of Tracy's point that she was uncomfortable, and I agree with her, passing things that require changes. What I'm proposing tonight is this document, word for word, letter for letter.
I
period,
will
for
approve this
consideration.
document if you go in and you put every one of the TCQ
Right.
requirements.
That's right. 'Cause
Because we haven't stated any laws, we've just said them.
Well, that's
We
fine.
don't have any, and the $2,000 needs to be struck because that doesn't apply to us, that's TCQ. We fall
Well,
under,
no, I didn't make that up. That's our lawyer.
well, he's
Our legal
wrong.
counsel said that that is exactly what we are up to, $2,000. And I forget which law. I think I shared the email with you guys, his response to it. I didn't bring it with me, but.
So okay, so as a state, again, TCEQ regulates the whole state. That means every citizen sitting in this room, every city in the state of Texas. Okay? Their fines for illegal burning, which is listed in the TCQ book, is $2,000.
That's an
If
illegal.
we do yes.
All right.
If we do a burn ban, then the fine is $5,000 if we have a restricted burn ban.
Burnt.
5,000 or 500?
$500.
500, you said
Okay,
5,000.
500. So I want people to be able to burn in
do
here,
too.
and everything that I have looked up, we are in compliance as we sit. If we don't do anything, people can still be able to burn. They are still bound by TCEQ regulations. The only exception would be is if we did a burn ban, which I think needs to be done, that falls in line with each county that sits in Poetry. And when I say burn ban, if there is a burn ban
a burn.
because of dry,
And-
whatever,
And I say we just, whatever.
we just follow
In
them.
Kaufman County, when they impose a burn ban, we honor that burn ban.
Right. And
Leave it alone.
less than that, they can burn.
So, I mean, outside of the
I mean,
document,
when you look at the document, so some of the other things that concern me about the document. So you got open burning definitions. That one is correct. Recreational fire is correct. General prohibition. All right. Open burning within the town limits is prohibited except as specifically allowed by this ordinance. No, as specifically allowed by TCEQ in compliance with applicable state laws and regulations. We are not state law. TCEQ is. Open burning is prohibited when a burn ban has been issued by Kaufman or Hunt County. Rockwall County should be in there also. Open burning is prohibited when there is a red flag warning or unsafe wind conditions exist. Now, number one, I don't know what a red flag
Yeah, I
warning
don't
is.
know what a red flag is.
And
Wind.
then
I
you've
bet the
got
citizens know.
right. Okay, I'm going to skip over to the next page. Call before you burn. So down here where you have wind speed, you have wind surface speed must be between 6 and 23 miles an hour. That is incorrect. The wind surface speed must be below 6 miles an hour and no more than 23 miles per hour. And actually, the state, if you look at the Texas Local Government Code, it says 15 miles an hour. So that 23 miles an hour was for related to coastal areas.
What is a sensitive receptor? Burning must occur downwind of, or at least 300 feet from structures containing sensitive receptors. Now, which citizen is going to know what a sensitive receptor is?
Well, that is because all this falls under TCQ.
But we need to tell
But
the citizens
what
what a
is that,
sensitive
Doug?
receptor is.
What is a sensitive receptor? Do you know?
I have no idea what they're
Terry,
talking
do you know?
Unless it's a burning in a barrel.
So I just think if we're going to do this, we need to tell the citizens what that is.
Yeah.
How are they going to know?
I mean, everything in here says you cannot burn. Burning must occur.
Well, so let me,
Okay, y'all asked me a question, so can I answer it?
go ahead.
So what is a sensitive receptor? I mean, that's not real difficult, guys. Someone who has a sensitivity to air qualities that are below normal standards. Y'all are making this way more difficult, and I appreciate your passion, but the TCEQ puts their laws into the Texas Administrative Code. They do not have their own statute, guys. 1.1219 is as most explanatory as you can have. It cannot be done unless their ordinance is passed. Period. Y'all are eating this thing up.
no,
For no reason.
Well, and
Terry,
Just vote it down and let the citizens burn. When the fire marshal comes through here and writes them a ticket, they can be mad at you too.
Okay.
well, so, but to your point earlier, Tracy, you said the speeds were not compliant. Right here in TCEQ, burning shall not be commenced when surface wind speed is predicted to be less than 6. It
This
has to
says
be at
between
least 6.
says between 6 and 23. It has to say what it specifically
Exactly
says
that.
there.
Less than, okay. Well, it's not you can't burn when it's still.
because like this whole document says, it talks about atmospheric pressure, wind speed, humidity, all that. And so that if the wind is below 6 miles an hour and it's a crispy critter outside and we have a high index of humidity, you don't want people burning.
No, you can't burn when
Okay.
it's still. You got to have
And
a
you
little
got a
wind.
wind speed of 6 miles an hour.
look,
Like,
I'm all for burning.
I am too. I don't have a problem
I'm
with
at my
burning.
house
I just
Saturday
think
night, I'm burning.
Somebody put a motion together so we can get this.
Well, we got citizen input. Let's jump. Terry, do you have anything else from your part? Okay, we got a couple of people to speak on this. This is item 5. So, David, you wanted to speak. Scott, you wanted to speak.
Please.
Hey, Terry. David Poetry. All I can say is for 31 and a half years, we've been very careful on our burns.
Thank you.
Do whatever you need to do here at the council level where everybody can still burn and still not violate any rules that'll come back on the town. That's all.
We've been burning for the last 5 years since we've been in town.
Thank you, David. Okay, so
When you come to town, you change the rules.
I think
Should
we've
have been done a long time ago then.
worn this one out. Do we have any motions? This is agenda item 5, Town of Poetry Outdoor Open Burning Ordinance. Do I have any
Yes.
motions?
I make a motion, we accept it as written with those edits from last
Well,
meeting.
it is exactly as it's
Well,
written
there's
because
more
they're in there.
edits.
There's more edits.
There's
yeah.
more edits that we got this week.
The edits that
Well, we
were,
cut short. Let's
here.
talk about the edits then, before we make a
The
motion.
the only two things I changed was I put it back to 1 hour before sunset and 1 hour after sunrise. That's the only changes that were made to it. And then we added the
But-
$2,000 fine.
Okay, but what constitutes a fire after dark?
Fire after dark.
Fire after dark.
Like
What's a fire
flames
after
or
dark?
embers.
Coals or a fire? I think if you read TCQ is you can have coals, you can burn it. There's no longer a flame and you can leave it smoldering all night. Can you not?
Well, there's also a thing called open flame.
Open flame.
So, you know, again, Terry and I go out on a fire that's an open burning or whatever, and if the coals are down and the controls or whatever, then we just tell them to watch it, because it also says in all these rules, somebody's supposed to be out there attending.
Right.
to it.
That's correct.
Until there's no flame.
Yes.
Okay.
So again, what you're voting on is what I sent you. I sent you the second one and I told you this was corrected for the reason that it was out of compliance with TCEQ. That's what you're voting on exactly.
But
If you don't like the words on it,
that's
don't
what my
vote for
motion
it.
is.
That's correct.
To
But
what
we
you
need
sent
more
out.
revisions, Mayor. Don't
Yeah,
we
this
need to
is a
define
draft,
red
too.
flag warning?
Then you're going to vote against it.
Okay,
That's
but
fine.
if
And
it's
this
not
is a
ready,
draft.
what is wildland management?
It's-
Number 7,
it's
under
open-
section 5,
It's open land.
wildland management. No, it should be wetland management.
No. No,
Yeah.
you're getting into another
Oh,
area.
yeah,
of
we're getting into
wildland.
another area. If we don't know it, you think the citizens are gonna know it? Come on, let's just do it right. I'm a burner. I want to be able to burn in the town of Poetry. That's what we're about.
Okay.
I want to be able to do that. So I'm not against burning. I'm against what we're trying to impose on the citizens.
So if you're not sure, you don't call somebody and ask them if you're not sure about
I
something?
think we need to tell them in the document. Tell them what a red flag is. Tell them. Quote the.
Tell them where they can
law.
go see the law. You know, that we're not making this up.
I'm going to
I
get
thought
out there
we
and check
agreed
and
to
measure-
do that from now on. Is it if we were going to pass an ordinance that was a state law, we would cite the law.
Right. Just cite it. That's not hard.
Okay, we have a live motion from Councilman Anderson to approve the document as submitted. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second by Doug.
And no changes.
Okay, no change. Exactly the draft that's sitting before you.
Beware of your wild land.
Okay, call for a vote. I'm going to write down who votes who. Tom?
Yes.
Okay. Doug?
Yes.
Dale?
No.
Tracy?
Nope.
Terry?
Yes.
He giving you a thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Okay.
Just put
Okay,
more-
3-2, motion passes. Okay, let's move on to something else. I think we beat that one up.
Could we take a 5-minute break?
Yes.
Mike?
Yeah, we
We've been
can.
going for 2.5 hours.
Okay, well, we're almost done, so we're gonna take a break at
only take-
7:50.
Oh,
I don't think you're funny, Doug.
Huh?
Isn't that cute?
Do what?
Can you send me that message yesterday where it said it is allowed?
Order at 7:54, it looks like. We're back in session, and we are on regular agenda item 6, which is to discuss and take action as needed on determination of whether Four Post Lane, Gate Lane, and Coral Lane, I added that one because it's in the little 311 feet, are private or public roads. And so this item was brought up by a council member recently, and that started this journey. We've done this before. We did this on Trojan Horse Estates, right? The goal here is not to target any particular road or any particular citizens. It's just to make sure that we are spending taxpayer dollars on taxpayer assets, right? Not on private roads. Spending money on private roads from a state law perspective is no different than sending tax dollars on private property if we went out and paved somebody's driveway or something as a favor to them. So we want to be very careful, in my opinion, about where it is that we're spending our tax dollars. So I'll sort of set the stage here because this thing has gone all the way around the block and back. I sent some stuff out today to council, just kind of our attorney's opinion on this. I will tell you what led me to believe that it possibly they were private roads is the plat, which is included in the packet of Four Post Ranch, which is apparently the name of the development, that clearly shows the property surveys, the lots going out to the center of the road. So they haven't cut out any right-of-way or road as part of the original development. But I also noticed on this plat, which was approved by the county, there's no language like I've seen on others that says, and we surrender all roads, right-of-ways, easements, and others to the
County
town
has to accept them.
for public use, right? And so I didn't see that language
Right.
that was presented to the court, and I thought, well, okay, that's kind of interesting. Well, so I reached out to Laura Hughes, who is the court clerk in Kaufman County. She runs the court record stuff over there, and she assigned Debbie, her deputy clerk, to help us. And what we found was a set of minutes from the Commissioner's Court from Kaufman County from 1986, March 24th to be exact, And one of the items that they talked about in the court that day was, came on to be considered the motion to approve the plat on Four Post Ranch subdivision and accept the roads for county maintenance in precinct number 2. This plat belongs to Tom Sawyer. A motion was made by Commissioner John Darden, seconded by Commissioner George Mayfield. Motion was put to a vote and carried unanimously. So the Commissioners Court approved back in 1986 taking on road maintenance, which just so happens is consistent with Kaufman County's road inventory, which also shows all 3 of those roads as having been cared for some time now by the county. And then if you match that to what our attorney said, basically, the end of this is they're public roads. Right? I mean, a precedent has been set because the county's been caring for them, and as David, our lawyer, points out, it's not uncommon, and I've even said this before, for property lines to go out to the middle of the road, but don't think you can build out there. You can't. It's for public use. It's an easement. You cannot do certain things in it. And
that was very common back then. I agree. The only thing is on their road list, Corral is not on there.
Coral, yeah, it is. I think I found it.
Did you find it?
Yeah, because I had that same issue. I think it's
Yeah, I see 4 posts.
number
and a gate.
15. It's on the first page. Go up to the very beginning, number 15, Coral Lane,
Coral Lane, you're right.
0.128 miles in road condition, blah, blah, blah.
So understand the center line of the road, that's very, very common in a prescribed, 2451 is the same way.
Right.
We're gonna have, Terry, I bet your road, your property line goes to the center, doesn't it? Really?
Okay, but for this case here, the question's answered.
But
It's,
Well,
There's
I
no
mean,
more-
let's discuss it, because I don't think I mean, I've been asked to look at some other roads around the town
Yeah.
too. Now, coincidentally, they have names as opposed to county road numbers. Now, the other interesting thing I learned is Four Post Lane actually has a county road number. I
Yeah.
think it's 321 or
they
something.
said it's not posted anywhere.
251.
251. Yeah, it has a number, so it's
Right.
been given. Now, the
Well,
other,
see, on the city maps, I look, on the town maps, some of the maps had a county road on there, and then the next map, they took it off. And so, and then if you go Google 251, it won't come up. So,
Now-
it was just a suspicion. Again, we're 5 years into this. It took us a month to figure out whether 2 roads, 3 roads are in the town. It's an exercise we've got to go through because all the evidence was there that said maybe it's not.
but it's a once and done. Now that we've determined
there's
that, we
more
can
of
move
these.
on. But, you know, the other thing that confused me is I was imagining, because Kaufman has done some patching on that road, and of course, prior mayor did as well. If you've driven those roads, those houses sit pretty close to the road. So if we decided we needed like ditches, I mean, we'd be practically on their front porch building ditches, but I don't know. I guess we'll cross
Or you
that
just
bridge
have
when we
to
get
keep it
there.
within the easement. Yeah.
Well, but they haven't granted us an easement. I mean, it's,
Well, I think if you take this yellow part,
you mean the middle of the,
blow it up.
yeah,
I
the width
blew
of
it
the
up if
road
you wanna
there?
read it.
Okay, yeah.
It's the only way you can figure it out. But yeah, they did 4 utilities. They state that they are 4 utilities.
Yeah, to that point, like the engineers told us, that's a prescriptive right of way. It's been used for
Prescriptive
that
right-of-way.
purpose, then
And we have a lot of them.
Which would be towns.
But the question is it in the town? And the answer is it yes.
Yes.
So
No,
we're
it
questions
was the
answered.
maintenance. It was a question of whether
We could spend money on it.
Roads or not.
Yeah.
Right.
They are
So
not.
the
They're
answer
public
is yes.
roads. We can continue
fine.
caring for them, and that's done. But it took this little journey to figure that out. Because again, I just want to make sure that we're not
Yeah, exactly.
No,
spending
This-
money on,
It took us
you
a
know.
month to do it.
Oh, I think it was good documentation.
It was a good exercise.
Now
Well,
the-
and we've got documents for our records now, so.
That's right. Now we've done Trojan Horse, and we figured out 4/10 of the mile of the road is ours. The rest of it is private road. We figured this one out. It's public, so it's back on our inventory. We haven't stopped working on
So
it.
do we
just
need a
wanted to-
vote on this? It says
No.
take action.
No,
No, it's just something
think
we do have a couple of citizens though that want to speak on it. And to the citizens' defense, I mean, they didn't know the final answer because when the packet went out, we weren't quite there. All this kind of came in at the last second. And remembering when I did this with Trojan Horse, I did all this online because Hunt County is all online. Kaufman, because of their cyber attack, a lot of
get
their
anything.
courthouse is not online anymore. It's
No,
just
you can't
gone.
get anything.
So if it weren't for Debbie, the deputy clerk, I still wouldn't know this unless I went down there and went through the cabinets or something. I don't know. Anyway, so we have a couple of citizens. This is item 6. David, you wanted to speak on this? Okay, Shelley?
No.
Okay, so both speakers pass. Council, we're not, no action required on this. Any other comments from council? It's a good effort, and eventually I want to make sure we're 100% confident that every single road that we think is our responsibility is in fact our responsibility. So I think it was a good effort, and I appreciate the council member for bringing it to our attention, so. Okay, let's see. So next up is our last regular agenda item, discuss and take action as needed on Town of Poetry ordinance enforcement. By the way, I put discuss and take action just to allow us the ability to take action as necessary. It doesn't
If
mean
we
we're
need-
going to
We
take
don't have to.
action.
Right.
But in past council, we didn't have that on there. We really wanted to decide something, but we couldn't because we didn't have the right words. So just know that's kind of boilerplate language. But anyway, Dale, you want to lead us in this conversation, please?
This is and it kind of, and I'm not going to rehash the fire ordinance, but it's kind of the same thing. Part of our problem, and Berman has said it, everybody said it, part of our problem is we do not have the ability to enforce our ordinance. A lot of people don't realize we call them ordinance, but it's a law.
That's
And
correct.
you have to be able to enforce your laws. And we're not enforcing our laws. And part of the problem, even with the fire, was how are we going to enforce it? We don't have an enforcement officer. You could have a fire in town, you could have a fire. How are we going to manage that? I just think we just need to be real realistic about throwing out a bunch of ordinances out there that we can't enforce. And what is that doing to the citizens? Partly, one of the big things right now is the zoning ordinance. We've decided that we're not going to take action on somebody, but the other person we're going to take action on. Where is this coming from? Why are we not going to treat everyone equal? That's my only problem. We have an ordinance. Let's enforce it. But then when the mayor decides that he's not going to enforce the zoning ordinance, what did we do to the guy that we just turned down? I mean, why do we want to be that inconsistent? Only because we can't enforce it. And I think with the budget people about to put together a budget, maybe we might want to consider budgeting for an enforcement officer. If we can't do it, let's hire somebody to do it. We can hire a third-party contractor that would enforce these ordinances for us. I mean, sometimes some of these decisions are very, very tough. People have already done things, and we have to go out there and tell them they got to undo them. So that's my only thing is let's be wise about this. Even like on the fire deal, we almost passed it last week, but we all went back and did some research and studying, and I think we just as much a quagmire now as we did before. So that's my open for discussion.
Comprehensive government regulation is costly to citizens.
Yes,
And
it all costs money.
And at this point, this town does not have that kind of.
Right. So why do we have the ordinance if we can't enforce it?
I think, well, ordinances are legislation, and I think we need to be very acutely attuned to any ordinance that implicates fines, fees, or devalues somebody's habitat, living, what they were used to before the incorporation of the town, and by incorporating, government limits what people can do, and I don't want to be known as that type of government. I don't want to limit what people can do. But if we're going to do something like this fire ordinance, I do think it's in our best interest to give the people as much information as we possibly can so they can do their research. Because this ordinance is going to cause you to get tons of phone calls.
We are just opening ourselves up to more lawsuits. Sorry. We've got to enforce and be consistent with all citizens.
I mean, we're a we're a
I mean-
rural town.
We can abolish, suspend the ordinances. It's a process, but we can suspend the ordinances if that's where we need to go. But I just feel like we need to
Well, the other
be
thing,
consistent.
and the other thing, we need to go through any ordinances that were passed prior to our taking office. The law requires us to go over those to make sure they're applicable today. And we've already found some that are not, that we're gonna have to repeal, which we gotta do that. You know, I mean, the other reason is budgetary purposes.
Is what?
Budgetary.
purposes.
Right,
Money.
and that's why I'm bringing it up now, because y'all are going into season. I mean, should we stick some money in there and hire a third-party enforcement officer? I mean, again,
I mean,
like I
I
said
could
last
Well,
time.
I think
at
it's
some
it's not.
point,
I
we're
think
gonna
there's a
OD.
series of things. We have an enforcement officer, I agree, and then we need a court and a judge, right? Somebody has to hear these cases and
Mhm.
enforce
And I
it.
think
So,
we
of
have
course, we
someone
can
that
do a
willing
part-time
to
judge. We
volunteer
don't have
for
to have a
that.
full-time. We can just rent somebody and have court once a month or
Or we
something.
could we can't do that. The ILAs that we have with each prospective county, they are the enforcers. It says that. It talks about subdivisions. It talks about fires. I mean, the list goes on and on. Subdivision, fire code, building code, driveway culverts. They already cover all that in every one of the counties in our ILAs. So that was the other reason that I did not bring up, is why I was against the open burn, because the county is already covering us on that, so.
Okay, others thoughts, Tom, Doug? Terry? Okay, we have a couple citizens, David? Scott? Wow, you guys are giving up easy. Okay, again, I appreciate, Dale bringing this up. I think it's in, the points that Tracy and him and others outside of this discussion have made are very valid. I don't know the answer. I can tell you it's the least pleasant part of being mayor
Yeah.
And a council.
is trying to figure it out, because I have a hard time explaining it. I will tell you, I didn't print the email out from our attorney, but you've received it, counsel, where he says basically, because we don't currently require building permits, that's sort of, and I don't know. I just don't like it. I'm not a fan of the zoning ordinance, period, just because I think it kind of backfired and it's hurting the people that live in the city and not the people that are going to come in and ruin our town,
Right.
that are going to be
And the people in the
312
city
feet
are
from the
not
middle of the
people
road.
We should be afraid of.
Right, and that responsibility, as Tracy pointed out, we've actually signed over to the county, right? They're doing all the subdivision reviews and all of that. So I don't know, it's like the tangled Christmas lights. I'm not even sure which end of the cord to start on, because it's just like,
Well, fair warning, I got a letter from Mr. Navarro today, and they want to come back to town council and get the variance approved for their plat, taking 2 acres into 2 1-acre lots.
right, yeah, and I
He's
actually drove
coming
by
back.
there several times looking at roads, and he's got a foundation sort of staked out, but that's it. There's
That's
no,
it. But now he wants to come back because he's finding that it's not economically feasible to put,
A
again,
single house.
talking about the area we're in. Now he's got to add another cost of an acre to the deal, and it's not worth it. So they're coming back. So
Okay.
I'm letting you know that, so you'll go ahead and stick it on the agenda. I think we need to, and the question is, do we take it to the Board of Adjustments? But, if the
No,
Board of
if
Adjustments
this
makes
is
a decision,
If he is appealing, it goes back to council.
council, that's my point. So put it on council that we need to give him the right to come back.
well, no, that's fine, but he needs to fill out we have a variance form on the website, so he needs to fill out that form and just
Okay.
make sending the email to you is fine for a heads up.
Yeah,
but
I'm
we
just
need him to
letting you
come
know.
in
Yeah,
the
we
right
gotta go
way,
through the
and then we'll,
So Tracy, I have a question for you. To appeal, we've already had discussion about the Board of Adjustments and the status of the Board of Adjustments. But when I'm sitting here listening to what we're saying and what we're possibly going into, typically I'm asking, when it's gone through the proper Board of Adjustments.
Yep.
Council meeting.
Yep.
No, it
He
didn't go to
permit-
council
he-
meeting,
And we
it went
can't
to the
do
Board of
it,
Adjustment.
we can't represent ourselves in a board of adjustment anymore.
Yeah,
So,
We are.
so he came to the Board of Adjustments first,
Okay,
okay?
that was us.
We established ourselves as a Board of Adjustments.
that's correct.
Anytime you appeal, you have to appeal to the legislative body. The Board of Adjustments is not the legislative
Correct.
body, it's just the council. He only did the Board of Adjustments, he
Okay,
did
so-
not do the council.
Cause my question would have been if, since we're short-handed, if you call it that. Typically, when you get denied, it's usually then it goes to the county for them after it's gone through the.
After they go back to the council, they go to the council.
Okay, that's what we agree.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then I'll triple check that with our attorney, because I remember when we did this whole thing, him saying, and if you reject their request for variance, we were not obligated to tell them how to cure that, but they did have rights and all of that, and certainly they do, and we're going to respect those, but, okay, we're going to put that one to rest, and then we're going to go to general comments. Scott Lehue, you're up first.
Scott Lehue, Town of Poetry. It's been nibbled around, and people have talked about this several times tonight in passing and making comments. I kind of want to put it out in one statement, made mostly to get it on record so citizens can see it on the recording and things like that. We've talked a lot tonight about long-term planning, and I have to ask, when you start doing the math, is there a long-term for the town of Poetry? I mean, 20 miles of roads at $1 million a mile, that's a lot of grants to go after, several bridges, zoning enforcement, burn ordinance enforcement, building codes, building permits, all this enforcement, property surveys, updated maps showing ETJ removals. These all take resources. They all take money, what the town doesn't have, right? And I need to give some words of affirmation to everybody at this table and on the television there. You guys are doing an amazing job at keeping things moving forward. So I don't want anybody to take this as a criticism of what any single individual or this body as a whole is doing. But there's only so many hours in the day, so many days in the week. You guys can't do this. And the town, as it grows and we're adding ordinances and we're doing additional things, it is getting beyond the capability of you all to be able to handle it all. And there's only so many citizens who are going to volunteer over the long haul, right? That's just not the way a town works. So these resources I'm talking about, the town doesn't have them over the long haul. And no one at this table wants to talk about a property tax. I don't want that, speaking for myself. So where do these resources come from? Now, let's imagine something 10 years in the future. Let's imagine that a property tax, nobody hears on this council. Let's imagine a property tax does come in. I think it's important for the citizens to understand how disproportionate that tax will be enacted based on the way the map has been drawn. And I'm going to use myself as an example. If a property tax were enacted the way the map is on my land, I would pay pennies in property tax. My neighbor directly across the road, several neighbors, would pay thousands of dollars. That's not fair. Okay, that's just patently unfair. And you flip a coin, sometimes you get heads and sometimes you get tails, sometimes you win, and sometimes you lose, but it ought to be a fair flip. And this is not a fair flip. So I guess if I can't in good faith advocate, I don't want a property tax, and I couldn't advocate for it even if I was in favor of things like that because it's unfair, and there's not enough resources from the current revenue of the town right now, what is the long-term viability of the town of Poetry? And I know you guys can't answer that at this table right now. I'm not asking for that. I'm saying this to get this
That's why
statement
we
on
have the
record.
survey.
Right,
Citizens are going to have to tell us.
right.
but we're not going to make that decision for you.
Right, and absolutely, I think that's great. I think the survey, finding out what people want, is good. And I'm saying all this at the risk of being a doomsayer, and that's not what I'm intending. But I'm just intending to get some things out there, again, on record for people to hear. I don't know all the different codes in all TML and all those things, but I can add and subtract, and this math is not adding up. So at the end of the day, when we talk about long-term planning, I think not only is it, do we need long-term planning, because is there a long-term? So thank you for hearing me on that.
Just so you know, and just so the general public knows, if a property tax were ever to be implemented, it has to be on the years or on the even years where we have big elections. So
It would have to
we
be
would-
November
we're- yeah,
2028.
Right, but
and
fair.
you're gonna have a new council.
Right, and fair enough on that, but at the same time, it's still disproportionate. It's still going to be applied unfairly based upon the way the map was drawn from day one.
There is possibly a way to do it, is where you just lower the tax and add it to the county tax, but it would be something, as an example. I'm not sure of this, but it would be something like a poetry road and bridge tax. You look at your tax bill and you see road and bridge fees and community college, all those fees, we could add it. Then unfortunately, what would happen if we just taxed the area in town? Okay, you're right. It would be pennies. So your tax, we actually have right now, we have the right to impose a $1.50 per 100 tax just by the council, because it's the first time. After that, then it's got to go full board. But if we put a tax, a road in, just like the counties do, if half your house is in the city, they tax the whole thing.
Well, sure, but that doesn't, I take your point, but that
So what
doesn't
we
take
do
away
is
the
we
unfairness
lower
for the
the
people
tax
who
rate.
are, right, okay.
And we just make it a
Okay, point
Wait,
of
let me
order. I don't
finish
want
my-
to, go ahead.
What we would do is lower the tax to say 25 cents, 50 cents, and tax the entire property. Okay? One, that kind of removes the unfairness of just trying to tax just what's in the town. That way, everybody would pay. It's just we're going to pay a much lower rate, but whatever you pay for school district or bridge or road, you'd pay the same thing here. It's just a question of the rate. But you're right. That's what we've struggled with, and that's why we've gone after that, is how do you make this fair?
Right,
Okay, so again, point of order. I don't want to cut you off, but we're way off in the weeds here where we're just supposed to be listening. I appreciate your feedback, Scott. I
yep,
think
thank you.
Point well made. Thanks for the input. And clearly a topic we need to
address.
we need to discuss more. I mean, I'm with Scott. I'm kind of a math guy. I love hope and faith and all that, but math prevails. I mean,
That's right.
I love math because you always get there to the same place every time.
12C.
Okay, that's the end of public
Financial
comments. Meeting adjourned at 8:20.